Greetings and welcome to another edition of Between the Lines. I'm your host, Karanja Jackson. Today we discuss the stalemate at the Senate. 7 times the senators have met and not agreed on a formula that will be used to distribute the allocation to the 47 counties for the next 5 years. Article 217 of the Constitution stipulates that a revenue sharing formula will be reviewed after every 5 years. This being the 5th year, the Senate should come up with a formula to discuss on how the funds will be distributed among the 47 counties. And joining us today on the show, we have to my immediate left, Mr. Cornelius Odur. He is the CEO, Center for Enhancing Democracy and Governance. Karibu sana, Mr. Cornelius. And to my extreme left is Honorable Dr. Peter Mbai. Dr. Peter Mbai is the MCA, Kambazi Ward, and also a member of the Budget and Appropriation Committee. Karibuni sana, gentlemen. So we start right from the beginning. What do you think is causing the tension or the disagreement between the senators at the Senate? Mr. Cornelius.
First of all, thank you for hosting us today.
Karibu sana.
I think what we are seeing here is more or less a political standoff that has been largely contributed by lack of proper public communication on what is before the Senate. Because as we know, and I've rightly put it, that the Senate has a responsibility to approve proposals from the Commission for Revenue Allocation on how counties are going to share revenue among us themselves, the 47 counties. And even the Constitution is very clear on the threshold upon which the national government and the 47 county governments are supposed to share revenue. Now, what we are having is a proposal from the CRA, which is we are calling the third generation proposal. Of course, we are aware that before we had a proposal or a formula that has been used, that is being used currently. So the proposal that we have currently was placed before the Senate in early 2019, that is, and the Senate has sat on this proposal until now that they're supposed now to have approved it. But they appear not to be agreeing on some of the recommendations or amendments that they're trying to do to the original CRA proposal. What is disturbing is that the public is not even aware of what the CRA proposal was. And here we are having a political standoff out of recommendations that were put before by the Senate Finance Committee. So what I'm seeing is more or less something that has arisen because of communication breakdown amongst senators and lack of wider stakeholder consultation, because now it has been left to the political interests of the individual and the groupings of senators depending on their political inclinations. So I would rather, from a public point of view, that the Senate will have taken time to explain to the public what proposal was given by the CRA and how different is it from the second generation proposal, so that even as they are arguing, we can see what is the bone of contention, because that is it currently, we're just hearing 1 kilometer population and this kind of things. We can't give people money to land mass, or we can't give money to forests, or those kind of things. So people are just treated to the, what I'll call, political perceptions that are not informed by the actual formula that was presented by CRA.
And it's good that we have Dr. Mbai here, a politician. Now, Dr. has politics taken over the debate on the allocation of the revenue in our country?
Jackson, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. A lot of greetings, of course, from Kambazi Ward, Subukia, and the County Assembly, where I was this morning.
Thank you.
Yes, there's a lot of politics. Unfortunately, in a very scientific and a mathematical thing that was supposed to come from CRA, which is a professional body, remember, not made up of politicians. CRA is a professional body that we pay a lot of taxes to them as salaries to think and come up with a formula. when it landed in Senate, a whole year, never mind, a whole year. Now it's being made a crisis now, but it has been with them for a whole year, and then a lot of grandstanding, battle of egos, because that's what we are saying. Now, how do you, senators are supposed to be very senior members of the society by the virtue of their positions. Now, they are even going to an extent of having groupings, like One Kenya. What is One Kenya? What is this and that? Even we are in ties. Now, what is that to a common mwananchi? What is that to Wanjiko literally? Why are you causing the counties to suffer? Because of your own issues. For example, our thinking. Because you cannot call this thing a normal thing. There are so many things going on. For example, would it be because some of them were de-whipped from their positions, and they are saying, well, we are going to take an extreme position from what we think should be done just because we want to get even with someone? Is it because, Jackson, they have been pushing for some amount of money to be given to each senator for oversighting the counties, which has not come yet? Could it be they are using that as, like, let me call this like a blackmail, or like, let's do this so that you can give us this? There is a lot of politics that have come. Unfortunately, counties are suffering. As we speak, most counties are not able to pay salaries for the last 2 months. So, yes, there's a lot of grandstanding, there's a lot of egos, and there is a lot of misrepresentation of facts. When leaders now go and say, we are from Northeastern, we are from Coast, we are from Eastern, we are from wherever, and so we are fighting for this because we think we are marginalized, we need facts to come on the table. And I want to say this from the word go, Jackson. We are calling upon the Senate to just know that all the Kenyans are watching. It's not funny at all. It's not funny at all. You cannot tell us you are meeting 7 times and you are not getting an answer. Look at the kind of amendments that are coming on the floor. Each one has an amendment. Kangata comes with one, which does not work. We don't want to hear stories about, oh, we are going to wait for another 2 years. No. It is very simple, Jackson. The law is very clear. That formula, second generation, comes to an end. We have a census report, which is gazetted. And the census report says you have to use that data to make policy. And to make a policy is to get a new formula. The new formula has to start this year. And I want to say this categorically. We are watching, we are suffering, we are the representative of the people, and there is a direct link between the tussle in the Senate and the requirements and the needs of the water and maram and grading and the loads at the ground. There's a direct link. And I want to say very clearly, some counties, like Nakuru, for example, our capital share is 4,800, 1920. That means the amount of money each person can get out of what we are getting from Nairobi. Some counties, they are getting up to 15,000 per person. That means, for example, Nakuru today, we are struggling to balance the budget between development, because you remember there was that issue of COVID, so a lot of revenues locally went down because everyone was not able to pay revenue. We are struggling to balance what Wajiko of Nakuru got last year in terms of water and loads and all that. We are going to get half. Why? Because the little money we get, we have to share with everyone. Now, in other counties, they are getting 5 times. So we are asking questions. Is that fair? We have been marginalized ourselves for 7 years. We kept quiet. We never went for Madamano. We never did meetings, solidarity. We waited for census 2019. You had another senator say the other day, oh, we should now repeat. That census was not good enough. Let's repeat it. The census came and went. We all were counted. Those are the things we are saying. And Jackson, as a matter of fact, without battling an eyelid, we are saying that if, by any chance, these forces of other forces come to the play and they influence the decision by the Senate, we are ready to fight for our rights. Through all the legal means, we are ready to go to court, to the Supreme Court, and tell them to judge what is right in this nation. We don't also want to be marginalized. We don't want to be disadvantaged. That's what we are saying. That's our position.
And that has been the discussion actually by several senators, that several counties, since the promulgation of the Constitution, they have always been marginalized. Go back to the sessional paper of 1965, where funding and allocation of resources was given to counties that were deemed to have an ability to give us output. And I'll be coming back to you, Dr. Let me come to you, Mr. Cornelius. Do you think, let's even try and look at these formulas that are being proposed by the two, we have the amendment by the majority leader, Kangata, we have the amendment by Nairobi Senator Sakaja, and there was also the additional amendment by Meru Senator Linturi. Do you think if we put these amendments to the formula provided by CRA, the Mwananchi down there will have what we are calling a win-win?
I think what we are dealing with is a situation of senators trying to address themselves to the principle that no county should get less amount of money than they used to get previously. That if Nakuru was planning with a budget of, let's say, 10 billion, it would be very difficult for them moving forward to start working with 8 billion. And because we are having this discussion at a time when the total revenue share to the 47 counties has not increased significantly from the previous financial year. And that's why when this formula is being applied, then we hear some counties are losing up to the tune of 1 billion, others are losing hundreds of millions. So what Senate is trying to do is to ensure that at the bare minimum, counties will be able to get the amount of resources that they are budgeted for in the previous financial year. But this has been occasioned because of lack of an upward trajectory in the total amount of resources going to the counties. And therefore, whatever they are trying to throw here and there is to try and get some kind of what we are calling a win-win situation. But if we had gradually improved the amount of money going to the 47 counties, even with this formula probably, there wouldn't be any county losing in that sense. Amount of money goes to them. But I think the problem is systematic. From the word go, when we had the 47 county governments, the transition authority was supposed to help us address the question of what amount of resources are supposed to go to the counties. The question that resources will follow functions was never addressed adequately at that time. And therefore, as Mr. Honorable Mbai says, that counties are struggling to balance their budgets because from the word go, they are not getting enough money that is adequate or is proportionate to the quantity and the quality of services that are supposed to offer.
I think Jackson, this question you asked, let's go back to what you asked. And by the way, it is good to declare clearly, I'm a Kenyan. Okay? We are not talking tribalism here or regionalism. It's very, very, very sad for leaders to try to turn this debate. Let's be very sober about this. We are going to live in this nation. We are not going anywhere. So let's be sober. Let us not get here and then we are going to whip tribal emotions. Oh, we are calling ourselves regionalism. We are Kenyans and we are talking about counties, not tribes. Let's be very, very clear. Not communities. Why? Nakuru is home to all the 43 communities. We have Somalis, we have Lus, we have, name them. Taitas are here. And they hold very senior positions, both in government and private sector. They learn oil here. They learn, some of them are chief officers in the county government of Nakuru, and they chose to be counted here in Nakuru. We are saying that their money should come here, not go to Northeastern, because this is where they live with their families. That's just to clear the air like that. Now, you talk about marginalism. Let's ask ourselves. We may agree, fine. There was some sort of minority and issues and marginalization since independence. We were not there ourselves. Then that is why we founded the new constitution, Jackson. That's why we said all of us Kenyans, fine, we agree. And the last 7 years, Jackson, there was a big issue about for poverty, I think 18%, equalization fund going to those counties that were marginalized. And we kept quiet, we said, it's okay. But then we are saying, we came to 2019, we did census. And this, all what we are arguing here is this, that because we did census now, it seems the big counties are now being marginalized. We have kept quiet for 7 years, struggling with our budgets, not able to make it. We can only afford to give each boarding student 5,000. They are able to give up to 50,000, 100,000, sending their students abroad using bursary by the county government. Why? The people are very few and they have a lot of money. So what I'm suggesting here is what we are saying. Let us also not us be marginalized. Kiambu has only 3,000 per capita share. Nairobi 3,000. Nakuru is number 4. With 4,800 and Nandi. All the others are 7, 8, up to 15,000. Or what we are saying, we also don't want to be marginal. Now, he mentioned something about the money. Look, Jackson, let's not delude ourselves. Even if we fight all over here, the money is not more. We have to stick with the 16. But that doesn't mean, because we have the 16, we are not going to follow the law. Remember here we're talking about the law. And by the way, we are very prepared. Anybody who is going to flout the law will go to court. Because the law says you cannot use the second generation formula. Number 2, you cannot come and tell us to postpone this thing. And you cannot come and tell us because there's no additional money right now. We have to fight with this. Now question, there are some counties like Turkana who lost money when the second generation formula came, they lost money and they are still alive. What we should be pushing here for, the 11 billion equalization fund should be worked on. It should come on board so that those who not, and by the Jackson, let's remove this issue of counties losing. It's a bad term. Losing is what? Losing. It's a new formula that has come. You have not lost anything. It's a new formula, which is by the law. So let's not whip emotions by telling people some counties are losing, others are gaining. Now that is where people are getting angry. Let us tell people there's a new formula. However, there's also equalization fund. Those years, it is us actually we needed equalization fund because we were very bad battered. But now we didn't get. So let's do things the right way. Let's do things the right way. That's what we are appealing. Let's do this the right way. And above all, look at the amendment by Kangata, pushing it 2 years out of order. Look at the one by Sakaja and Senator Mutura, trying to say, let's say, if you get additional. There's no additional. We are going to work with the 16. Let's look at the Lintuli amendment. You know, let me ask you, how did you come up with 270? Why not 100 to be shared equally? Why not 90? Why 270? Look, these people are trying to grapple with the. I think this work was not meant to be given to senators who sometimes have personal interest. Some of them want more money because they want to be governors. Some of them want less money because they want the government to fail. I think we should give another body to work out this formula, because I can tell you the way it is going, with all this vested interest in the Senate, we may not get the right deal for Wanjiku. We may not, I fear.
Amazing. We will take a small breather. The show is Between the Lines. Keep sending in your comments, questions and suggestions, and we shall be sampling them as we move on. Keo Kenothia, I see you. Keo Kenothia says, just a minute. Why are counties suffering, yet the formula being debated is not to be applied now, but 2 years later? Then we have Jimmy James getting you loud and clear from Nairobi. Good work. We'll take a small breather. We'll be right back.
Kijana kuja hapa umetoka wapi? Unaenda wapi? Saini saa ngapi? Kwa nini na kivipi? Hebu eleza mara moja. Kuja huyu sio madha, kuja hapa.
Officer, mimi ni mtu wa chemist, naenda nyumbani. Hata niko na barua ya essential services.
Ati chemist?
Si unajua serikali ilisema sisi tuko na ruhusa ya kuchelewa kidogo.
Ati serikali ilisema aje? Wewe unasemeanga serikali? Wewe ndio government spokesman. Makosa ya kwanza, impersonation of the government spokesman.
Officer, hata wewe unajua hii curfew imewekwa kupunguza maambukizi, si kudhulumu wananchi.
Imewekwa kudhulumu polisi, si ndio?
Hapana, polisi ndio wanaitumia vibaya.
Sasa unanisomea? Yaani umeacha kusemea serikali, sasa unasomea serikali. You are reading to the government. Hiyo ndio makosa ya ngapi?
Si hivyo officer. Alafu, kwanza wewe mbona hujavaa mask? Si unajua hata nyinyi maafisa wa polisi mnajiweka at risk ya kuambukizwa COVID, Kwa nini humvai mask?
Sasa unauliza serikali maswali tena. You are interrogating the government. Makosa ya ngapi? 3. Tuache mambo mengi kijana. Kwanza nyinyi mmepewa pesa ya COVID allowance. Sisi hata hujapewa, hata roadblock zilifunguliwa. Cheza kama wewe.
Ati nini?
Leta ile unaleta kijana na uende kule unaendanga.
Sina pesa officer.
Boss, unaongeza makosa chia ingine. Unajua sisi ni nani bana? I can take you to quarantine anytime bila makosa yote. I can take you anywhere I want. Saizi hakuna katiba, tumesuspend everything. Sisi ni nani? We have powers. Sisi ndio Kenya police.
Unajua kutembea bila pesa ni murder case. Unataka kuwa serikali na njaa?
Hebu Thomas nikuone kinyangarika hii.
Utasemea mambo yote mbele. Kuja haraka, tembea. Kanyaga kubwa
twende. Ofisa unajua ufai kunikaribia hivi na hata una mask. Unajuaje kama niko na COVID?
Unaishiki witi kwa mimi, twende wewe.
Ai, kwani hii mtu yuko na corona? Unataka kuwa mimi na corona? Toka hapa shetani wewe, manslaughter wewe, attempted murder COVID-19.
Welcome back. The show is Between the Lines and it's getting hot in here. We have Dr. Peter Mbai, MCA, Kabazi Ward, and who is also a member of the Budget Allocation Committee, as well as Mr. Cornelius Odur, the CEO, Center for Enhancing Democracy and Governance. Today we are discussing the stalemate at the Senate. Before we took the breather, Dr. Mbai, you had mentioned that the big counties are being marginalized by this new formula, and I'll be coming to you right right about now. I want to ask you, Mr. Cornelius, do you feel, now in your capacity, and I know you've done a lot of finance work over the years, have the counties been doing enough with the funding that they've been receiving in the past 10 years?
Of course, this is so obvious that counties have not done enough with the monies that they have received since the advent of the devolved governments, largely because of either structural or what I'll call teething problems, which have taken too long. Because, as it were, devolution was supposed to facilitate an expanded democratic governance system where a wider stakeholder participation was supposed to be realized in terms of resource allocation at the county level. But what we are seeing increasingly is that even with the resources that counties are complaining that are limited, we are not seeing that there is efficiency in terms of resource allocation. We still find most counties allocating resources where are not areas of priority, what I will call luxuries for that case. Yes. Another question is that the absorption levels over the years have been wanting, because when you look at the question of turnover or a rollover, to be precise, counties are not able to absorb a significant amount of allocation going to development expenditure. Why? We are talking about inefficiencies in procurement. We are talking about a vested interest such that procurement decisions cannot be realized because people are fighting over tenders. County Assembly was established to provide checks and balances to the executive.
Yes.
To what extent have they played this role? I am telling you, nearly every county, there is a standoff. And when there is no standoff, then there's collusion in most cases. Who doesn't know that quite a number of our elected and appointed leaders are running proxy companies and are doing business with county governments? There's no value for money for the kind of resources that are allocated. How many facilities have been established in the sub-counties, in the ward levels, that are not providing services up to date? Where's the coordination element in development? Why should we have a health facility consuming almost 10 million Kenya shillings and is not able to offer services because there are no staff, there's no electricity, there are no equipment? This COVID-19 has been a big exposure to counties. How do you explain that 10 years down the line, counties don't have even a single ICU bed, and they've been sitting on billions of shillings, and health is a critical function that has been decentralized? So if you ask me, it's not a blanket judgment that all of them are doing badly, but majority of them have not lived up to the standard and expectation of Kenyans.
And the organization deals with enhancing democracy and governance, yes, within the Republic. Allow me to ask you, there has been a discussion about equitable sharing. What do you think, in your capacity as Mr. Cornelius and also as the CEO, should ensure, what is equitable? What will we say that the person in Mandera is receiving this and the person in Nakuru receiving this? No, this is equitable.
The question of equity is allocating according to your needs. It's different from equal.
Okay.
When you're saying equal, then you'll just divide the amount of money we have among the 47 counties. But there are parameters that must be the basis upon which we allocate resources that then underpins the question of equity. And when you look at the formulas that we're having, even the current one,
yes,
it's one that is trying to improve the ability of counties to offer services. And there are parameters like health and agriculture that have been introduced to promote the question of ability of counties to promote services. There are parameters that have been introduced to deal with the issue of marginalization, and that's why we are talking about the poverty index, access to roads and health facility gaps, and even the land mass. So this formula is not just about population as you're being treated in the public layer. This formula is trying to move closer to the principle of resources will follow functions. And The only challenge is that the application of the principle of equity is not even being adhered within the counties. Because if you come to Nakuru, for example, what explains this whole idea about every county getting some 25 million? Are we equal in terms of population, in terms of poverty index, in terms of service delivery gaps? So I think even within the counties, this formula has not been addressed effectively. So I think counties have more to do. The county assembly has more to do in terms of ensuring that equity is not just only a national political discourse. It must also be a discussion at the county level, so that even among the 55 wards within Nakuru County, the principle of equity is seen to be applying.
And let us whip Dr. Mbai with that. You are from the assembly and you are a member of the budget allocation appropriation committee. Is the budget allocation and appropriation within the county meeting those bare minimums of equity?
Thank you. How we do it, and I'll be very so we can understand this. How we do it is this: to start from top, coming down. He mentioned about equity and equality, and we want to be very clear, because sometimes us who are the proponents of the big counties, we are being told we are being unfair. It's not about equality. We are not talking about equality. Actually, if you look at the per share, the per capita, we are not saying we want to be the same per capita with Lamu. Lamu has a population of about 300,000. Tana River about 300,000 or 400,000. They are all below 500, and Isiolo. But for example, Lamu has a per capita share of 18,000. If every person in Lamu gets 18,000 shillings per year, when we are getting 4,000, we are not saying we get 18. We are not saying we come down to all 12. No. What we are saying, let us just be fair. We are not asking for all the money, for example. We are just saying let's be fair. So that now we get what is ours, because also we are many and we are in one place. Maybe there's what we call economies of scale. And that's why if you look at the formula, we have issues with health, access to health facilities. And I wanted the viewers to understand what they are saying. How many people attend health facilities? In Nakuru, in Kiambu, in Lamu, in Isiolo. That's one thing. How many people do agriculture? Because agriculture is what feeds Isiolo, what we do in Kiambu and Meru. How many people, for example, have access? How many kilometers people travel to reach to the nearest motorable road? That is a land. But remember, there's also the eco share. The eco share is only 20%. We didn't say it becomes 45. We just saying it's only 20, but the other parameters. So that the land area, it does not favor Mombasa, for example. It doesn't favor Nakuru too much. It favors Wajir. It favors Mandera. We don't get that money for land area. It's a huge thing. The only thing I have a problem with, and I thank CRI for moving away from poverty. We cannot 10 years later, after the new constitution, we are still using poverty as an index. We should be talking about stimulation of economy. We should be talking about these other parameters that make you leave vices like poverty and go to things like agriculture, like trade and all that. So let's talk about poverty. Now, to answer your question, coming back here, this is what happens. All the money we get from the share from Nairobi, we add with the money we collect locally as revenue. Out of that share, the county governor, the executive, is left, there's a law, and by the way, this is important to mention too, and many people Nakuru may not know. It is the only county in Nakuru we have a law called a county revenue allocation for Nakuru that stipulates that all the money that comes from Nairobi and revenue, 45% minimum shall go to the wards. That means, like last year, 1920, we had 3 billion. Out of the 3 billion, 55% remains with the executive because of the governor's flagship projects, like major hospitals like Mororo, like all that, those projects in agriculture and all the others. 45% goes to the wards. Now, let me make it this clear here. The 45% that goes to the wards, for example, 1.5 billion, does not go equally again to the wards. We have a law that says the number of wards is 55. We have a criteria, says equal share. We have a percentage. We have land is a percentage. Population is a percentage. So that we know Kabazi ward, which is one of the biggest rural wards in Nakuru County, quite big all the way, there is a fraction that gets because of land, a fraction because of population, so that the lowest, for example, 1920, the lowest ward got about 20 million. And the highest ward, which is Kaptembo, because of population, got 40 million, almost 40 million. That's what we are talking about. That's what we have done in Nakuru. Now, to answer to his question about how these things are done. We are saying this. Let nobody confuse us by telling us, oh, even these counties, they don't know how to spend money. Now, that's why we have Sedich and others to come and strengthen capacity and also ourselves. Let the money come, and then you come and ask us questions. We are ready every day to come and we ask questions. That time we had a very good interaction system with the civil society. They came to the budget committee. We sat them through. We took them through what we are doing. Now, I want to look at this impact, Jackson, is that this money that now goes, Kabazi, for example, is given, allocated 20 million for the last 2 years, and then this year about 30 million. It's when we do public participation, the people say we need a bridge here, we need water here. Now, this year, I want to show you the difference. This year, we have a shortfall of development budget of up to 2 billion. We only have 1.7 billion to share between the executive and the county assemblies, and the wards rather. That means we can only share about an average of 15 million per ward. That means if Kabazi had that million the last financial year, we are only going to get 15 million. That therefore means we can only do 4 major projects only, out of maybe 8. Because if our project is about 3 million or 3.5 or 4 million, those are just three projects that are going to be done. That will impact directly, and I can bet, Jackson, that challenge that we have today, where our development budget is going to be cut by half, is not being experienced in Lamu, in Isiolo, in Tana River, because they have more than enough. Or what we are saying, therefore, let us get a bit of money, not equal. Let's get so that our also development budget, because when he said that the big counties, the losing counties in quotes, are going to their budgets downwards, even us, that's why I talked about marginalization, we are being disadvantaged because ourselves, we are already being forced. Without this formula, we are already being forced to cut down our development by 2 billion in Nakuru. That is not justice. That's what, and those are the facts. If a time comes, Jackson will start from High Court, we'll go to Court of Appeal, we'll end up in Supreme. Whether it's going to be through Zoom or whatever, we are going to make our submissions in that order.
We'll come to you, Dr. Ring. Just let us pick from what you said. Looking at the current formula by the CRA, does it affect redistribution of resources to the poor and marginalized counties in our country? Looking at the formula, without the amendments, without the everything, just looking at the formula.
The formula was bound to affect distribution because the parameters keep on changing. And that's why we are basing the third basis formula on the 2019 census. So poverty index, population size, and many other things keep on changing. And these are factors of economy that will keep on changing. And that's why in one formula, you'll gain in the account of population, you'll lose on the account of poverty index. And that's why you see counties that were at a higher poverty index, let's say like Turkana, that has reduced. And therefore, what they used to get on the account of poverty index has significantly reduced. So you can't say that this thing is going to be static, because as people move from Nakuru to Turkana, from Turkana to Nakuru, from Nakuru to Mandera, these factors keep on changing. And after every 5 or so years, there are counties that are bound to in gain, in quotes, and there are counties that are bound to lose on certain parameters. But the principle is that as much as this thing keep on changing, is that we do no harm to most of these counties in a way that there is no significant loss of revenue to these counties in a manner that can significantly affect service delivery. And this, I think this is what the Senate was trying to do in the many amendments that are coming they are proposing. Trying to see how do we ensure that counties don't lose a lot in terms, so that they don't destabilize their budgets moving forward.
If you listen to what Cornelia is saying as a policymaker, you know, he's a policymaker and he knows these things very well. Sometimes we are normally accused of jumping and being irrational, but we want to be as much as possible rational in this debate. He's saying very well. What we are saying, there are some counties, people need to understand the truth, and our leaders must be honest. And let me tell you, the biggest tragedy we have in this world, Kenya, starting with Kenya and going to Africa, is that we have so many dishonest leaders. You want to please your people, you want to play double standards, you want to speak one thing during the day when the media is there, but at night, you want to go and talk a different language. We need to be just basic. Don't even be overly religious. Just be honest and fear God. At least then we can have a starting point. Because when you have a position of leadership, you have an opportunity to influence a lot of things, policies and all this. So kindly, let us be very sober. We must tell the people the truth that even in the second generation formula, there are some counties who lost, others gained, and then there was some semblance of, understanding. So in this one, there is definitely, with a new formula, there is bound to be some shifts of revenue. What we should tell people as leaders is, we'll make sure it doesn't hurt so much. For example, as we cannot agree to remain with where we were, I have just said we are already in a hole. We have had like 10 meetings, going now to 15 this evening, trying to crack our brains as a budget committee. How do we balance this thing? How do we balance this thing? Actually, and I want to tell Nakuru people, it's going to be so unfortunate. We may have to cut out on batches of vehicles, trainings, a lot of things for us to survive as Nakuru. Why? Because we have grown in population since the second generation formula. We cannot agree to go on like that. Can these senators be realistic? Don't come and begin telling us, because Lintuli is trying just to throw eyes, fingers into our eyes by telling us 270 will be equal. What is 270? You are a layman. A professional came and said, this is the formula. You are a layman and you want to pose like you are one of the biggest technocrats in the world. We are just saying, let's use the CRI formula as a basis. Let's come and say, okay, fine. If you are pushed a bit here, we add you a bit. Okay, but the Lintuli formula cannot work anywhere. It is actually illegal and it has no basis in law. So can we have a formula that will cause Nakuru to feel, okay, I may not get everything, but my 2 billion plus or so to make me survive. But then Lamu, because it's not surviving, is already doing very well, they have to part with some 400 million or 500 million. Me, I don't wish any county to lose. I want to say this because I could as well find myself in Lamu. I could find myself in Isiolo. And by the way, Kenyans live everywhere. I can tell you, this is not about ancestral land where you came from, where your grandmother was born. This is about where people do business. I could find myself in Isiolo. I mean, you could find yourself in Mandera. Anywhere. We have people we know who work there. They want also to have services in that land. But let's be fair. But the whole thing I can tell you again, Jackson, it stands and ends with the political class. We are the people who are inciting Kenyans. We are the people who are not telling the people the truth. We are the people who are putting so much politics in a very mathematical and scientific process. And we are messing up this thing. Today we are watching. I don't know. Maybe they have their games. Ask yourself, Jackson, what happens? When the debate is moving on well, then somebody stands and says, let's adjourn. What is happening behind the scenes? Can Senate tell us? And remember, you cannot take people around for all the years. 8 years is good enough. 7 years, 6, times. So we are watching to see what's happening, but if the Senate is not willing to tell Kenyans the truth, that you have to buy the bullet, we can win, we can't lose, and let's not be, threatened, oh no, if this one goes through this way, we are mobilizing. Let's solve that debate. Let us wait for the way forward where all counties will win. All counties will win. We will not agree ourselves to lose. I give you statistics. Nairobi has a population of more than 4 million. Per capita share is 3,000 plus. 3,000. Kiambu, 2.4 million. Per capita share is 3,000 plus. Nakuru, 2.1 million Kenyans. Per capita is 4,000. Let us be very fair. Others have a capital of 18,000, 18, 15, and they have a population of less than 400,000. Let us be very fair on this.
Salute to the people who are watching as the discussion is live on our different platforms. We have Jimmy James from Nairobi. Salute to you. Vincent Tanui. Vincent Tanui actually has an issue with you, Dr. Mbaye. He says that Mr. Mbaye is not addressing the substantive issues. In the new formula, 17 counties are set to lose money, while 30 counties will gain. Our focus should be on how to compensate the 17 counties in the third generation formula. We will take a small breather. When we come back, Dr. Mbaye will be glad to answer those questions. Welcome back. The discussion is about the Senate, the stalemate at the Senate, and joining us in studio we have Honorable Dr. Peter Mbai, MCA, Kabazi Ward, and Mr. Cornelius Odur, who is the CEO of the Center for Democracy, for Change, Enhancing Change and Democracy. Before we took the breather, there was a question thrown at you, Mr. Dr. Mbai, that are set to lose some money in this new formula, while 30 will gain. Our focus should be on how to compensate the 17 counties.
Thank you. We have said this again, and I'll just clarify. We don't wish any county to lose money. What we are saying, and I want to avoid the word losing, I'm saying the ones who will be affected by the new formula. Let me use that better word, as a more professional word. No, the other one is being peddled by politicians who want to hit people. So the ones who will be affected in a way which be made negative by the formula, we are saying two things. One, there is something called equalization fund, which has never been used since devolution started. 11 billion. It was not used because the Senate didn't have a formula of who are these to gain from the equalization fund. Because already, although it was meant to cater for those in the northeastern and arid areas, already they had gained more. Yeah. So it was not possible to, when you make a law, you are making an equalization fund because of northeastern counties. Then already they are favored by this poverty index parameter. They already got more money. So it was not possible to add them more money. Now, what we are suggesting, this 11 billion, actually, if you talk to CRA today, CRA, in their letter, in forwarding the formula to Senate, they had said very well, there needs to be this money to cushion those who will be affected by the new formula. So what we are saying, let the Senate today, as they pass this, let them say that the 11 billion equalization fund, let them propose how it will be shared by the 17 counties. That way we have a win-win. We have a win-win formula. So that's what we are saying. We don't wish anybody to go. We don't wish anybody to be in a position where Nakuru is today, where we have to go to we have in our budget, we have a deficit of 2 billion. We don't wish any county to go that way. So that's one. Number two, there's somebody who asked about why are we like fighting, yet the law will be used or is going to be in effect 2 years. We are saying no. That is what Irongo Kangata Senator had proposed. The amendment was shot down, and we are saying that's not the way to go. The formula, the new formula, has to start from this financial year 2020-2021, not 2 years later. Bwana Jackson.
Okay, let me come to you, Mr. Cornelius. In like a fortnight, we will be celebrating 10 years since we promulgated the Constitution. Looking back, have we done enough? And what have been the shortcomings in the 10 years that, as we celebrate the 10 years of the Constitution?
Thank you very much, Jackson, for that question. 10 years down the line, Kenyans, we can say, are a bit disappointed with how we have walked the journey of the Constitution. I remember in 2010, the level of interest and how people were confident that finally we got it was very high. The celebrations across the country was enormous. But there is something called constitutionalism, that is implementing the Constitution, living by the Constitution, living by the spirit and the letter of the Constitution. Here is where we have challenges. And that's why from civil society we are talking about, we don't have a constitutional moment to warrant even the change of the Constitution, because we feel this Constitution has not been given a chance. It has not been implemented.
Now, allow me just to cut you short.
Yes.
When you say that as the members of the civil society, you feel that we do not have the capacity to warrant the change of the Constitution, are you painting a grim picture on us having a referendum?
Of course, if the referendum is about changing the Constitution, then we are asking ourselves, why are we changing? We can't change something that you've not implemented. We have established institutions, independent institutional commissions, independent offices. We have established county governments. We allowed them to work effectively. Starting with devolution, we've not given the devolved governments enough monies to do their functions. So how can we start saying that they have failed in the first place? Of course, we know there are inherent challenges in how these the county governments are functioning currently. But have they been given that space? We are saying that the Constitution did say that at a minimum of 15% of national revenue will go to the counties, and that is based on the audited accounts. What we are giving counties today is nowhere within 15% of our last audited accounts. So I'm saying counties, as much as they are facing challenges, is sometimes by design, by the failure of the national government or the national treasury to allocate adequate resources. So counties partly are struggling because of how we designed and how we've implemented devolution. We've had independent commissions or independent constitutional offices. Have we given them space to do their work? Mm-hmm. The principle of separation of powers, what are we seeing today? We are seeing a big collision between Parliament is an extension of the executive today. It's becoming a rubber stamp. We can't see the Parliament that we envisaged in the Constitution 2010 that will challenge government. But we are seeing formations that are there to support government at all costs, even when government is wrong. So that is not what was envisaged in this Constitution. What are we seeing? The principle of separation of powers. How many of our bureaucrats in the executive are engaged in politics day and night? The idea is that we hide people who have the space, who have the competence to oversee the administrative functions of government. But we are going back, we are clawing back on the gains, and we are seeing the judiciary being muzzled. They can't even get enough money to do their operations. So on the question of implementation of the Constitution, I must say that we are disappointed as Kenyans. If anything, if you were to give this Constitution a chance, probably the issues we are raising today as the basis for referendum will not be there. Will not be there.
Will not be there.
Yes.
Dr. Mbai?
The only thing I feel we have made a big blunder. The only thing I feel we have made a big blunder is that there is no willingness to support devolution within this Constitution. I want to speak this with a lot of humility, but very firmly. As a representative of a people in a rural ward, having served in the executive of the county government of Nakuru for another several years, there is every effort to muzzle devolution, to make sure counties do not prosper. They have always to keep on begging the national government. A lot of functions are supposed to be done by the county governments. They are still held by the national government. We have to keep on begging for money, literally, even what is in the law. Jackson, I want to remind you, just a few days before this, we had another big tussle with the national government. The law was very clear, and signed by the president. That is money that's supposed to be sent to the counties. Until today, the last tranche that was supposed to be sent for June had not arrived. We had to go beg, plead. The governors had to go meet the president. It's for us to be given what is supposed to be given to the counties. I can tell you from the word go, the central government is very, is it fear? They don't want to release. And let me tell you, without devolution, there's no constitution. Without devolution, one of the biggest themes on this new constitution was about devolution, was about the person on the ground in Maimahiu, in Kiptororo. They don't need to go to Nairobi. They have a government in Nakuru. So that now in the government in Nakuru can also empower now the rural, the rural wards, so that they can feel government when they're in the villages. But unfortunately, look at health, for example. A lot of decisions and money is still held in Nairobi. There's very little that is done on the ground. Look at agriculture and all that. Now, what I can tell you, there is no political goodwill to support devolution. And with that, there's a lot of problems with the whole issue of constitutionalism. Now, what should be done here? As we mark as we mark 10 years, what we need is willpower to say, yes, do we need devolution? Do we need these issues of counties? If we need the counties, let us support them, but also let us put also the necessary mechanisms to make sure they are accountable to what the money they are given and all that. But let me tell you, what is needed today, you cannot compare. For the first time in Nakuru, we were able to buy machinery, graders, dozers, tippers, all those kind of machinery, they are able to go to a village where a tipper wouldn't come from Nairobi, to go to a village in those, those low levels of Kambazi, Subukia, Maunarok, and do work, open up roads that has not been opened for 40 years. That we have not been having this constitution. You cannot gainsay, you cannot belabor the impact on devolution if it is supported. We are able to go, like now in Nakuru, we have over 177 dispensaries, almost 200 now, for health facilities. It's easier to get drugs from Nakuru town to take to a hospital in Joro or Molo or Subukia, other than waiting for that truck to come from Nairobi. That is the whole spirit of devolution. Unfortunately, and I want to say this as a leader, because I will fail my people if I don't say that, there is very little goodwill to support. People have to keep on begging. Getting anything from the national government is a big task. That's why you can see, right now, you don't know who to believe and where to go. If that one can be done, and I don't want to comment about the issue about whether the one you asked concerning, are you trying to say pouring cold water on referendum and BBI? We don't know what is BBI. We don't know what is all those kind of things. We are told to, we are still waiting. So when we know, we shall know about what to change the constitution or not. But I can tell you the biggest danger to this constitution is a failure by the central government to embrace devolution and support counties. They still want to hold the money and functions, everything in Nairobi. And it's affecting our people seriously.
But I think, even as Mr. Mbai points a blaming finger to the national government, we must also be alive to the fact that even at the level of counties, they have not done enough. And I stand here to challenge him that the county assemblies are equally to blame. The political grandstanding that we are seeing between the assembly and the executive is not helping matters. Because the issues that most of the assembly members are raising with the executive or with the governor sometimes is only on vested interest. Otherwise, how do you explain that most of our service delivery facilities are not performing so well? How do you explain the lack of equipment in our education facilities, in our health facilities? The agricultural extension services is dead. So I will want to challenge the executive, the county assembly, and especially now the Nakuru County Assembly, that they need to do much. Even with the lead that we are getting, there is no probability that even if you get more, the services are going to improve. If what we are seeing currently in the respective counties is anything to go by, they need to up their game and ensure that as a people's representative, as the oversight organ, they are able to play the effective role so that the government departments at the county level are able to deliver. This, we cannot tolerate this, because that was not what the devolution was supposed to do.
Jackson, I know there's a big push of every time money is mentioned, there is, what have you done with the what you have gotten? That's a very good question. Personally, in my principles of leadership in my ward, I believe in accountability, transparency. There's no other reason why you are a public officer or a servant or a state officer, you're not willing to do accountability. And I want to ask this question today. We have now 3 years. For example, in this government, let's assume this now administration here. Now, you are right. Our work is not to implement, but to oversight, to ask the hard questions on where are the projects and where the money is going. And I want to assure you, Oduol, you are aware. And you know that as late as even 2 weeks ago, every week, we have committees asking very difficult questions. Every other week, there are reports being tabled in the assembly concerning questions that have been asked. That's what we do daily. Every Tuesday, we have 2 sittings. Wednesday, 2 sittings. We call ministers. We call on everything, on sports, on water, on these COVID issues, about the money, on all the issues that we're asking. We ask questions. These questions are there. We do reports. We pass resolutions, serious ones, and we make sure we do our part. And all that is in record, Jackson. Now, me, I do want to ask the civil society also, and the media, because, I mean, we are part of the oversight, but they are also part of the watchdog. Now, 3 years is gone. Why don't you write to the executive also, ask them to table how much the money they have gotten for the last 3 years, to give you a report as civil society and the media. Those are the kind of things I would also want to see from the civil society. They have told me what they want to see from us, which we do. But I would want to challenge the civil society and the media. Write to the governor. Let them give you, for the 3 years, what they have done. Now, me, because of that kitty that has been entrusted to me because of oversight in my ward, I give my annual reports of everything. This is August. It's 3 years since you were elected. I'm going to give my report card of every other single project And then you tell me, Odol, whether that one would have been possible without devolution. It wasn't going to be possible. For example, we have gotten about 60 or 70 million per ward so far. I'm going to give mine and say, this is the place we did. This is the road we opened. This is a bridge. This is the boreholes we did. So that also, I'm personally, as an MC of a ward, I'll be accountable. But also at the county level, you can come in and ask for that. It is in order, because we have gotten, like, all the billions we have gotten so far. You can come and say, what happened? Market rebuilt at this amount of money. That is the kind of things we want to see. And for that one, I agree, I support. We do our bit. We have committees, by the way. Most of the work we do through committees of labor, of this. They call people, they ask them questions and all that. We do reports. But it is time now also. Even actually, we want to do this, Jackson. Yes. As you do this issue of asking for more money, let all the county governments give their accountability statements. And please don't say, we spent on infrastructure to 1 billion. Come and say, this is the amount of money we have spent, so that people can be able to see. For me, I can tell you, like a little example. We have spent over 400 million to buy machinery. Today, there are machineries that have visited or are visiting every ward to open up roads, to do maram. As we speak today, there are several working in Subukia today, opening roads which have not been opened. I can attest to that. That was not going to be possible without devolution. So can we also please don't be so upset with everything, but let us get the money, then ask questions. Because if you don't get the money here, the money will go elsewhere. So let us fight for the 2 billion to come to Nakuru, and then let us ask the hard questions where the money is going. That one we are ready to do as leaders.
Accountability. Allow me to sample the responses from different social media pages. Salute to Joel Gitum, who is watching us from Nairobi. Then we have Erickson Odira says, Article 174 of the Constitution says that one object of devolution is to foster national unity by recognizing diversity. But does not mean perpetuating injustice on the basis that it is the result of diversity. We all had the stories, if not witnessed the reality, of people in some parts of the country who would ask, how is Kenya when other came from Nakuru? So little do they feel part of the nation, and we have perhaps read how devolution has helped them feel part of Kenya, but that requires equal respect and equitable treatment. Allow me to sample more. Jane Mwangi says, please let us understand, this is from the panelists, please let us understand whether this equity is on the basis of size, population, or needs of the county. Salute to Ramtes Legrand Super Kid, who is watching us. Then Vincent Tanui also says that it goes without saying that population is not good basis for fair distribution of resources. Resource should follow needs. A bigger population is not necessarily an indication of a need. Enoch Onkoba says, someone needs to tell my friend Mheshimiwa Mbae that equity means addressing the needs of the people. Article 10 of our Constitution is very clear on social justice. The proposed formula takes away that. We need to be sincere on ourselves and stop the politics around the issue. Then MC Kiptabut is watching us from Eldoret. Amos Munyao says, countries that were worse hit by the virus are trying to save the tourism sector by partially opening. Why are we failing to learn this after COVID-19? Let's start with Mr. Cornelius.
I think there's a question by, I think, Jane or somebody.
Yes, Jane Mwangi.
And this is where I started, that nobody has taken time to enable Kenyans understand which proposal was presented by the Commission for Revenue Allocation to the Senate.
Yes.
What we are being treated to are amendments and counter amendments. And I did say that this formula has introduced parameters that were hitherto not given a lot of prominence, like service delivery, like marginalization, and even giving counties incentives to perform better in terms of how they manage public finance. On the question of giving county incentives, this formula introduces a parameter that will recognize the kind of opinion that counties get out of the Auditor General's report, so that those counties that perform well are given more on account of their better performance in terms of accounting for public finances, or the accounting for the resources that they receive. We know there are counties that are constantly getting very bad reports from the Auditor General. And they are now currently at the forefront, arguing about more resources, and they can't account even for the resources they are given. There are counties that are on record giving huge allocations to salaries and allowances and very little to development. And even that little that is going to the development is not spent. So what are you saying? We are running a system that is just hell-bent on meeting operational expenditures, paying staff, paying offices, paying bills, and making those who are working comfortable at the expense of service delivery. There are parameters that I did say that have been introduced in this third generation formula that talks about marginalization. They have been given different weights, like the poverty issue, access to roads, health facility gaps, and even the land area. So this formula has introduced more parameters that will be used. But by and large, this formula is starting to speak about the ability of counties to effectively provide services. And that's why we are introducing parameters. Because when you look at this health and agriculture, these are the huge functions that have been devolved. Health docket almost consume more than 30% of most of this county's budget. And when you give it more weight, it means that we are speaking to the functions, the 14 functions that have been given to the county government. So I think Senate did not do much. And I think civil society and everybody, and even including the media, we need to put the spotlight on what was the original formula that was presented by CRA, so that we are able now to relate with the kind of amendments that are being proposed in the Senate. And I think if we get it right from that point, then people will be able to understand why this amendment or that amendment does not work for this country. But without that, these amendments don't make a lot of difference in the public eye.
Dr. Mbai?
Now, I got two things maybe directed to me. One, there's that issue of equity. And yes, we want somebody asked how is it working? And I think I'm getting what Odole is saying. I think this thing came silently from CRA. Nobody even knows, a lot of Kenyans even don't know what CRA does. It was sent to Senate, and instead of throwing it out to the people to tell them this is what is happening, there is a lot of, there's no enough public information regarding this. Now, the one who asked about how, equity, how does it work? That's what we are saying. It's not about equality, and I want to repeat this. We are also for equity, where it's not about population. If it was about population, if we had said we just want 40% going to go by population, we'll be getting like 3 times. Nakuru will be getting 3 times. But it's not fair. That's why we said, can we have like 10 parameters so that everybody can be comfortable? We have some for agriculture. We have some who are going to benefit from land area. We have some who are going to benefit from access to health facilities and all that. So yes, those who are asking, yes, we are not being selfish. We are not being greedy. We are just saying, if we are not also going for population, the population parameter is only 20%. And for example, to make people understand, out of 100%, each parameter is given some percentage. Equal share, some percentage. Population, some percentage, which is about 20%, 18 and all that, 10, all that. So that every county, of course, must be having something. And of course, revenue, fiscal discipline and all that. Now, so let's all agree now in this discussion, we are not talking about equality. If you want to be equal, because we are a big county, then we are going to soup everything. We are willing to take a bit share of population so that other people can enjoy large mass and all that and all that. So population is not a measure. And we are talking about equity. Let people be given according to their needs. If you have more people going to hospital in Vihiga, be given more money. You have more people engaged in agriculture in Meru, be given a bit more money. If you have a big land mass like Wajir and Mandera, be given more money. That's what we are saying. I think let's be agreeable there. And that's what we are saying. We just need a bit more so that it is balanced. If they are denying a bit more, we get a bit more.
I think people are getting a bit mixed up with the issue of equity and equality. Equality is a concept that's about giving people equal opportunities. It's about being fair. When you talk about equality, we are giving everybody a fair chance, an equal opportunity to advance or to aspire to what they want. But equality cannot be addressed without equity, because the needs of the people in Marsabit are not the same. So we might want to give more to Marsabit so that we are able to give them an equal opportunity. But then equity enables us to to be able to give that fair chance of every child in the corner of this country to have the chance to go to school. But now we have to give more in Marsabit because of the local dynamics so that they can have that opportunity. When you say that how many people are going to the health facilities in Wajir compared to Nakuru, you might be surprised that there are not even health facilities in Wajir to go to. And that could be, then that also puts that parameter into disarray. Because which health facility are you telling me to go to in Wajir? It's not there. So as much as we are grappling with the number of people going to health facilities, some counties are grappling with the question of putting up these facilities. So these things must be looked at.
And that's why Jackson, since 2010, when we got a new constitution, that Wajir has been given so much money, 5 times Nakuru, so they can put up hospitals. You see, that's why we are calling this one the third generation. It's not the first. We give them money. They say they want money for poverty. You know, for example, me, I wouldn't want money for poverty. I would want money to stimulate economy, not for poverty. But anyway, there is something called poverty index. They were given money for poverty. They were given money for hard mass. They were given money 5 times Nakuru so they can build hospitals, so they can build nurseries, for example, if it's county government, so they can put up, they can go and open up roads, which have never, so they can put up markets. That's why they were given so much money for 7 years. When we were struggling here with 3,000 per capita, they were given 15. So that what we are saying, within 7 years, surely, with all those billions in Wajir, in Tana River, in Lamu, Taita Taveta, surely, with 300,000 people only, 300,000 people, you should have done something good for yourself. So we are saying, can you now, excuse me, now you should be not talking about poverty, now be talking about how many now can we see how many hospitals have you built? That's why we are saying we don't want everything. We don't want to take away, but can we go on progressing so that we move away from something called poverty index as a parameter, but we move towards what can you do? Because even in Tana River, there's Garana, there's a whole thing of irrigation. Those are the kind of things the county government should be doing. So we are moving on well, and Jackson, we are understanding each other here. But to go on with this, what we are saying, we will not also be right to accept now anymore what is rightly ours to be given other people because they are more deserving, yet we are also suffering. Let us all be given what each one needs here in this country.
Amazing. I'll continue sampling the feedbacks from our platforms and our viewers. Enoch Nkoba says that he'll give you a cold coke for that analysis on why the constitution should not be changed. Then Tanui says that the problem we're having is that we do not have enough checks and balances to look at how the revenue allocation is done. Wema Fadhili says that even with the hundreds of billions of shillings given to the county of Nakuru, since inception of devolution, little has been felt. Why? The county assembly has gone to bed with the executive. There's little or no oversight. Now, no wonder the assembly has failed to push for the executive to act on the Auditor General reports. And before
Wema Fadhili is a member of the civil society.
Yes.
I want to urge him to do his work also. Let us do our work as members of the county assembly. I'm not defending the assembly, but I'm just saying yes, there's more we can do. Yes, we are doing what we are doing. But Wema Fadhili is a key member of the civil society. Actually, Odor knows him very well. Let him go and do. Let him go also do his work there. Media do its work. Then we all have to do the work.
Let me say, we can't allow Dr. Mbai to keep on saying that we do our work. The Constitution has vested this responsibility on the legislative arm of the county government to represent, to legislate, and to oversight. What civil society does is to complement. And for us to be able to effectively complement what they do, they must create an enabling environment. I'm telling you, even to access information on the progress of implementation of budgets in this county is a problem. Is complaining about they are begging National Assembly to give them money. We are equally begging them to give us information. So I would rather, instead of putting the challenge to the civil society constantly, can he as a legislator put the necessary legislation to enable us access the documents at the right time so that we can ask the right questions.
Your final comments, Dr. Mori.
And I think, no, I agree. Like I said, I am not here to defend, but I'm here to say what we should do. This is how we work. Yes, the information he may be struggling to get, We get them because we ask them from the ministers. They appear before us. We ask them hard questions. And out of those reports, we go to the assembly, they are debated by the members, and we pass resolutions. What we want to invite the civil society to do, and which we started a few months ago, is to be very open with us. Come. They normally send us petitions, which we investigate and give reports. They will be able to be given reports, which has been asked questions. The minister was asked questions. It went to the debate in Cheba. We debated and passed resolutions. Then we can very readily, Jackson, I can assure you on this show, we'll be ready to give them all the information they need, because it is public information. Mark you right. Anybody has a right to information. More so them. And we have a working relationship with them where they can come and get the reports. All the reports on anything, they are there. And by the way, public and the debates in the assembly are open to the public and to the media. Anybody can come in and listen. I even gauge the quality of debates. So there's nothing we hide. We are doing our work, and I can assure you, we do a lot of work. Sometimes we don't shout, and it's good to say this, Jackson. You have not seen those ugly things in Nakuru County. Not that they are not issues, but we don't want to come and make sure and cause Wajiko to begin asking, we sent you to work. We do a lot of oversight, and we do it properly the way it's supposed to be done. Not shouting, maybe going to the media and fighting, in the streets and doing all those kind of things. We do our engagement properly, and that's what I'm asking. Somebody may ask, what have you done for those 3 years? Good question. Let every unit, devolved unit, give a list of what they have done for the 3 years. Let every also MCA say, this is what I've been able to do. Accountability is part of what we were called to do and what we must do as leaders. That one I agree.
Okay. Mr. Odur, your final words now as we wait for the Senate to sit maybe in the afternoon about the revenue allocation.
I will go by what has been said largely by our leaders and even the aspiration of most Kenyans, that we need a win-win situation. Let's not underrate the question of national unity. If this debate is one that can distort the balance that we've had at the political, social level in this country, then we must be very careful that we don't push for an idea that can distort the political balance or the unity that we've enjoyed. So a win-win situation will be good, but let's go back to the parameters so that Kenyans are able to understand what are we debating. Currently, I believe that majority of us don't understand the nitty-gritties behind the proposed formula. So that if my county gets slightly lesser, I understand it's based on empirical data that has shifted over the last 10 years or 5 years or so. So that we don't have an emotive discussion, but we have a discussion that everybody is comfortable with the finality of the allocation formula that will be adopted by the Senate. And I must say the Senate as a whole, because for the CRA formula to have the force of law, the Senate must legislate on it.
It must legislate. Yes. Jackson, yes, I agree. Win-win formula, yes. Today, I wish them the best, but don't disadvantage some counties at the expense of the others. Win-win formula according to the law, and we need to have it working today. It's not the answer to postpone it, because Senate must do their work. And let me give a very good way forward. Today, when they meet, if they cannot agree, it is okay. It is allowed to dialogue, take tea, go and have caucuses. It is allowed. But at the end of the day, the Senate must take a decision. Today, let them vote. Not two ways about it. Let them vote. Let's see the way forward, because we cannot stay in abeyance forever. Yeah.
Let them vote is what Dr. Mbaye says. It has been another edition of Between the Lines. Today we've been discussing the stalemate at the Senate. Joining us in studio today, we had Honorable Dr. Peter Mbaye, MCA Kabazi Ward, and we also had the CEO of the Center of Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance, Mr. Cornelius Odur. Thank you, gentlemen, for finding time and engaging with us. After the debate, maybe today at the Senate, whether they decide to vote or not, we will be glad to have you back here for further discussion. Final comments. Thank you, Mr. Tanui, also, who has been watching. Royce Nyawera has been watching us all the way from Burj Khalifa. Paul Mudhinja in Karatina has also been watching. Commander John has also been watching and been part of the discussion. Thank you all for made it possible to watch this show. It has been Between the Lines. I have been your host, Karanja Jackson. Until next time, stay safe.
kijana kuja hapa umetoka wapi? Unaenda wapi? Saini za ngapi? Kwa nini na kivipi? Hebu eleza mara moja. Kuja huyu sio madha, kuja hapa.
Officer, mimi ni mtu wa chemist, naenda nyumbani. Hata niko na barua ya essential services.
Ati chemist?
Si unajua serikali ilisema sisi tuko na ruhusa ya kuchelewa kidogo.
Ati serikali ilisema aje? Wewe unasemeanga serikali? Wewe ndio government spokesman. Makosa ya kwanza, impersonation of the government spokesman.
Officer, hata wewe unajua hii curfew imewekwa kupunguza maambukizi, si kudhulumu wananchi.
Imewekwa kudhulumu polisi, si ndio?
Hapana, polisi ndio wanaitumia vibaya.
Sasa unanisomea? Yaani umeacha kusemea serikali, sasa unasomea serikali. You are reading to the government. Hiyo ndio makosa ya ngapi?
Si hivyo officer. Alafu, kwanza wewe mbona hujavaa mask? Si unajua hata nyinyi maafisa wa polisi mnajiweka at risk ya kuambukizwa COVID, Kwa nini humvai mask?
Sasa unauliza serikali maswali tena. You are interrogating the government. Makosa ya ngapi? 3. Tuache mambo mingi kijana. Kwanza nyinyi mmepewa pesa ya COVID allowance. Sisi hata hujapewa, hata roadblock zilifunguliwa. Cheza kama wewe.
Ati nini?
Leta ile unaleta kijana na uende kule unaendanga.
Sina pesa officer.
Boss, unaongeza makosa chia ingine. Unajua sisi ni nani bana? I can take you to quarantine anytime bila makosa yote. I can take you anywhere I want. Saizi hakuna katiba, tumesuspend everything. Unajua sisi ni nani? We have powers. Sisi ndio Kenya police.
Unajua kutembea bila pesa ni matter case. Unataka kuwa serikali na njaa?
Hebu Thomas nikuone kinyangarika hii.
Utasemea mambo yote mbele. Kuja haraka, tembea. Kanyaga kubwa
twende. Alafu ofisa unajua ufai kunikaribia hivi na hata una mask. Unajuaje kama niko na COVID?
Unaishiki witi kwa mimi, twende wewe.
Ai, kwani mtu yuko na corona? Unataka kuwa mimi na corona? Toka hapa shetani wewe, manslaughter wewe, attempted murder COVID-19.